This year, the Cowboys are off to an 0-3 start in Big 12 play. To make matters worse, Gundy had an unusual interaction this past weekend, making his BYU week press conference a virtual Zoom call.
Well, I had a little run-in with my cattle over the weekend, and I guess they've been watching us play and got headbutted. So I've got a bad eye that I didn't think would be particularly enjoyable for people when they were looking at my pretty face in a live interview.
Gundy says he's okay and he'll be fine for Friday night against BYU. Kickoff is 8:15 p.m. right here on KSL. With Cougar Tracks, I'm Mitch Harper on your legacy home of the BYU Cougars, KSL News Radio.
Summer is the season of sun, fun, and freedom.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no better way to take advantage of every minute and every mile than with a low-rate auto loan from America First Credit Union. Plus, for a limited time, when you finance your new vehicle with America First, you can let your wallet enjoy some time off, too, with no payments for 90 days. So make your summer move. Head to AmericaFirst.com to apply for pre-approval of your low-rate auto loan today. Eligibility, terms, conditions, and creditworthiness apply. Subject to change. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal Opportunity Lender.
Seriously, this is what my money is doing. Playing games? Right now, Nicole's money is remodeling her kitchen.
I don't know how to do that.
Nicole said it's easy. She just called America First Credit Union and got a fantastic rate on a home equity loan.
No!
I'm calling America First.
Get your money working. Visit AmericaFirst.com and get a 0.25% discount on our low-rate home equity loans. Subject to eligibility, terms, conditions, and property criteria. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
Premium checking from America First Credit Union. Learn more at AmericaFirst.com.
One of the things with running is I want to enjoy the run, but I never made it very far because the arches in my feet just killed me. So when I got to the end of my rope and I said I have to do something to get rid of the pain, and a couple people recommended the Good Feet store to me. I loved how I could go in and get a free personalized arch support fitting. They put that time, that work, that effort into helping you find the right arch supports. And you can walk around the store with these in your shoes and try them out before you purchase them. So after I got my arch supports, the arches on my feet stopped hurting and the pain instantly, literally instantly went away. So if you have pain, go. Find a Good Feet store and go. And there is an answer. Find the simple solution that will get rid of your pain. I'm Rondi, and that's my Good Feet story.
See how Good Feet arch supports work for you before you buy with a free fitting and test walk at the Good Feet store.
The Good Feet store. Walk-ins welcome, or visit goodfeet.com for more information.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
Delays are still in place, although traffic volumes are starting to thin a bit, but it's still slow southbound I-15 from Murray through Draper. Mark?
It's been rough on the big 3 out west, Bangerter, Mountain View. Very heavy between California Ave and 4500 south. Rough as well on 5600 west. Crash at 1900 south. And it's been much worse on northbound I-15 in Utah County, Provo to Linden. Steve?
Got a crash with injuries right now clearing on Main Street in downtown Salt Lake City at 3rd South. Otherwise, nothing to slow you down. Northbound 15, good to go from downtown up to Willard Bay. Delays on southbound 15 linger between Ogden and Roy. Looks like northbound 215's west side belt still pretty busy from the eastbound I-80 transition ramp heading north up to about North Temple. Fall is upon us at Murdoch Chevrolet. Take up to $10,000 off a new Blazer EV or Equinox EV. Murdoch Chevrolet in Logan or Woods Cross. MurdochChev.com. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
81 degrees tomorrow, and then the bottom falls out. We're going to find out if BYU can play football in cold weather, because Thursday's high is only 62 degrees. Friday, we're expecting rain. It's going to be breezy and a high of 51.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
6 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. KSL's top local story this hour. The wife of a missing Utah National Guardsman has now been charged with his murder. Jennifer Gledhill is accused of shooting her husband, Matthew Johnson, while he was sleeping in their Cottonwood Heights home. New charging documents now show the police informant was Gledhill's lover. Johnson's body still has not yet been found. State lawmakers are talking about a possible 10% cut in state funding for Utah's public colleges. The Commissioner of Higher Education in Utah, Jeffrey Landward, says a cut like that, 10%, would be drastic.
We want to take the approach of identifying ways to make sure we're getting the best return on investment without doing undue damage to higher education because of how critical higher education is to our workforce, to our economy, and to people's lives.
There are projections that enrollment levels will start to decline over the next 5 years. Landward says they've directed all of Utah's colleges and universities to plan for those declines. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Officials say FEMA workers have resumed door-to-door visits as part of the hurricane recovery efforts in North Carolina. Those visits temporarily suspended after reports emerged over the weekend that emergency management employees could be targeted by militia members. KSL News Time 6:01. The forecast calls for a drastic change, and it draws ever closer. The KSL weather forecast is coming up next. KSL News Time 6:02.
My name is Brian King, and I'm running to be your governor because Utah is headed in the wrong direction, and we can do so much better. If you're frustrated by politics today, if you feel like politicians aren't listening to you, if you're looking for something different, for a leader who prioritizes common sense and bipartisanship, you have a place with us in this campaign. Join us and vote for Brian King for governor by November 5th. For the better.
Paid for by Brian for Utah.
Attention Utah professionals. Join us at the Utah Business Forward event on November 20th, 2024 at the Grand America Hotel. Learn from successful Utah leaders, including Kurt Doman of Progressive Leasing and U of U women's basketball coach Lynn Roberts. Dive into breakout sessions on entrepreneurship, people and culture, acquisitions, AI, brand marketing, and strategic leadership. Don't miss this opportunity to connect and grow. Visit forward.utahbusiness.com to register today.
The Management Minute is a service of the MBA program in the John M. Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University. I'm Professor Scott Hammond. I was riding the squeaking, moving sidewalk at the airport while the airlines were making announcements. A couple was having a loud conversation next to me, and the mayor was doing her Welcome to Salt Lake promo. Somewhere, someone was playing elevator music. Most of the passengers, as I did, had noise-canceling earphones to block the overdose of audible messages, reduce our stress, and retain our sanity. Not unlike today's workplace, too many important messages stacked on each other makes noise. They say silence is golden, but research shows it also leads to less stress and greater productivity. Good leaders create noise-free work environments where people can digest information and then move. Program at Utah State University. Go to utahstatemba.com. That's utahstatemba.com. I'm Scott Hammond. Hope to see you in one of our classes.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station, as close as your pocket.
I usually go to the KSL app.
Because it's on your phone, you have such a wide ability to choose what you're listening to.
That's the only news app that I use.
Listen anytime, anywhere with the KSL News Radio app.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Mark Jackson.
A hot spot has been on I-15 starting Murray to Midvale in the valley going southbound, and then northbound heavy delays down in Utah County, Provo to Linden allow extra KSL travel time, and then streets in Utah County as a result have been very much slower than normal. 5th West Provo, State Street between Orem and American Fork. Get to know winter fun at the Utah Snowmobile Show at Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. Tickets at snowwest.com/Utah. The Utah Snowmobile Show, October 18th and 19th at Mountain America Expo Center. Mark Jackson in the KSL Traffic Center.
The KSL weather forecast, 81 degrees for tomorrow, but then the drastic change in the weather. Thursday, rain, breezy, the high only 62. For Friday, rain and 51 degrees. And look at that. Mitch Harper is actually 2 feet taller now that BYU's winning. I'm Jeff Kaplan, KSL News Radio 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. Hello, Cougar Nation.
Handoff middle. First down. Touchdown. And
Listen to the Cougar Nation. Every Monday night, we break down the Cougars' last game and look ahead to next week. Cougar Nation, brought to you by Central Bank. Here's BYU insider Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio.
6-0. How does that sound, Cougar Nation? BYU football continues to roll along and defy expectations. It's been a fun ride so far, halfway through the season. And you look ahead. We're not going to look ahead too much today, Mitch, but it's favorable going forward. I think you can really start to get excited and dream about what can become. But for today's show, we're looking at the past. We're breaking down the win against the Wildcats. Boy, that was a thrilling win. In the next segment, we'll have Crew Wakley. He'll call in right after practice, talk about this unbelievable BYU defense, number one in the country in passing efficiency defensively. We'll get his thoughts on what's working so well, why they're forcing so many turnovers. And then, of course, like we do every single week, it's Cougar Nation for a reason because we take your calls, 801-575-8255. We want to know who has been the MVP for BYU football through the first half of this 2024 season. A lot of directions you can go. We'll give you our thoughts as well. But, Mitch, this is such an exciting time for BYU football, man. It feels like it's been, decades. 2020 was the last time they started like this, but it didn't feel the same as this season feels.
This is a good time for BYU, number 13 in the AP Top 25 poll. So much to be excited about, and let's dive into it with our takeaways.
Cougar Nation takeaways. Mitch and Matt analyze BYU's last week of play and what it means for the next week.
Cougs take down Arizona 41-19. It was another beatdown in LES. The vibes are immaculate. It's Cougar Nation on KSL. Folks, America, this is how we do. I love that Gus Johnson. I can't get enough Gus Johnson content in my life right now after that broadcast, that game. The vibes were just at an all-time high for BYU after that performance. Midway point of the season, 6-0. And, early on in the game, defense, slow start out of the gates, but, man, they turned it on.
That's my first takeaway is I thought the defensive adjustments specifically really changed this football game. And shout out to Jay Hill and Kelly Papinga and that entire defensive staff. Maybe I'm just, still getting used to this new defensive scheme and strategy. But boy, is it a fresh of breath air, Mitch, to see a defense adapt to the way that the game is going. That first Arizona drive, Mitch, they went 11 plays, 95 yards, scored a touchdown, and you were wondering, what is happening? Huge chunk plays, defense out of position. Like, this is not what we're used to. The next 6 drives, Mitch, the BYU defense gives up 102 yards, and BYU forces 4 turnovers, if you include the turnover on downs, which I happen to include that as a turnover. It just felt entirely different. There was a quick change, a quick adjustment, and the defense that we all know and love from this 2024 football season, they came alive, and BYU scored 24 points off those turnovers. I just love seeing an adjustment because they were clearly out of sorts early. They figured it out quick and changed the football game.
BYU comes out of a bye week and shows well. Last season against TCU, they struggled. Kalani noted that they approached this year's bye week a little bit different.
I think the approach that we had last week was different than what we've had, and I think we're going to stick with that. So we have another bye coming up later in the year, and I think it's proven that we can get the most out of our guys, and we can keep some momentum going too.
BYU does have a second bye week coming up after UCF later, coming up in November. But my first takeaway has to be LJ Martin. His return was significant for BYU. To me, Matt, he's the number 1 running back for the Cougars. I thought he played very well, and he didn't start to get touches until about the 2-minute mark in the first quarter. I was really impressed with what LJ did. 11 carries, 49 yards on the ground, a touchdown, and then the reception from Parker Kingston, who just always dials up a special. He is the ace in the hole on those special plays. But LJ Martin, 3 catches, 46 yards, and a touchdown. LJ is a big-time running back, and look, BYU's entire running back unit is pretty good right now, but I think L.J. Martin is the best of the group.
And hopefully you get Moa back this week. Ropati, yes. I mean, Ropati averaged 7.2 yards per carry. Did have that unfortunate fumble, but as a team, you rush for 5.4 yards per carry. You don't have to rely on Jake as much. Nice to see the run game get going. That's going to be important going forward. My other takeaway, amongst many, is I thought Jake Retzlaff played his best game as a BYU Cougar. I was really impressed with him. He pushed the ball down the field, yet he made good decisions. There were a lot less questionable throws in this game than in other games. His completion percentage is down at 56%. Look, there was like 3 drops in that game. If it's 21 for 32 for 250 yards, 2 TDs, you're feeling really good. And I loved Mitch. I absolutely loved his press conference after the game. It feels like there is a new confidence, a new swag. He's taken on a leadership role. This is what Jake said about the quarterback play at BYU after that win.
We love to give quarterbacks credit. We love to give quarterbacks the credit for the records, but it's not that, man. I mean, I was 0-4 last year. That means I was the worst quarterback in the country last year, and all of a sudden we're 6-0, and I'm the greatest. Like, no, that's not it. It's the guys around me playing really well that's making it what it is. And so grateful for them, grateful for everybody who came before me, and excited to keep this going.
Great leadership, Mitch. Did it feel different to you? Because to me, it just felt like this is a guy who has settled in. He's confident. He's not worried about making mistakes and losing his starting job. That's a great place to be. That's where you want your quarterback to be, to have that type of confidence. I came away really impressed.
No question. Jake Retzlaff feels completely comfortable as QB1. And, 3-4 weeks ago, before that Kansas State game, there was still some questions. Think about, in Laramie when Gary Bohannon comes off the bench in mop-up duty and he throws a pass and it was a loud roar from the BYU crowd in Laramie. No longer is that a debate. This is Jake Retzlaff's team, and he was in complete control. My second takeaway, Isaiah Glasker is an absolute monster. And look, if you listen to Cougar Sports Saturday, we were telling you about this guy for a couple years, but injuries always derailed the fall camp promise. It was nice to see this season fall camp production materializing in games because Isaiah Glasker's been outstanding. This stat line was nuts. 5 tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, 1 interception, 1 pass breakup, 2 quarterback hurries, and by the way, he had a touchdown.
Forced fumble too, right?
Forced fumble as well. Isaiah Glasker was elite. Justin Ennis said coming into the season, might be the best athlete I've ever coached. When coaches say that, they're not just throwing that out there, hoping it hits. It almost felt like this guy is as good as they come, and he is going to be a legit star. That was back in August, before anyone really was talking about him outside of shows like this one, and Glasker just looked outstanding. I thought he was brilliant.
We're taking your calls, Cougar Nation. This is for you. Let's go to our good friend down in Texas. Michael, what do you got for us tonight?
Hey, guys. Yeah, sorry, Matt. You said you didn't want to look forward. I didn't know before I jumped on. But
it's all good. Hey, that's what's fun about this start, Michael, is we actually can look forward, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I wanted to respond to Mitch's Cougar Tracks today because he did and I want to plug it. He did a nice recap of where we've been so far in the season and what the expectations should be. And I just got to say, Mitch, I think your expectations are a bit too low. I honestly believe it's not a hot take, guys. I believe the expectation should be to make the playoff, and I believe that the goal should be to win a playoff game. And the reason I think this is because I think we'll be 12-0 going into Arlington. I don't think there's a team on the schedule that can beat us without us helping them, like Boise State 2021 type game. I don't think there's a team left. I hope that a 12-0 team, no matter what happens in Arlington, gets to the playoff. I don't believe – there's no justice in the CFB world, but I'd hope that would happen. And I just really think that should be the realistic goal, and I think that should be the baseline expectation, and especially for the team. Like, we're not going to beat ourselves, and if we don't beat ourselves, no one else on the schedule can. There's not a team left that can, guys. There just isn't. If we're looking at it very objectively, there's not a team left that can match up with what BYU is doing. And so if they are taking it seriously and if they've learned from last year, I think that should be the goal. So that I just wanted to comment on that. I just think the whole fan base's goals are probably a little too low for what the way the schedule is lined up.
Love it, Michael. Michael from Texas always brings the heat here on Cougar Nation. We want to hear from you, 801-575 8255. Cougar Nation sponsored by Central Bank. 133 years of trusted banking service, modern technology, and fast lending decisions. Proud sponsors of Cougar Nation, Central Bank. Taking a break, we'll hear from Crew Wakley next, live here on Cougar Nation.
For over 133 years, Central Bank has been a cornerstone of Utah County, providing generations of families and businesses with trusted community banking services and are more than just a bank. Central Bank is part of Utah's legacy. With 12 convenient locations across Utah County, Central Bank combines the strength of traditional customer service with the convenience of modern technology. Customized one-to-one service means you're never just another account number, and your phone call actually rings to a real person.
Hi there, thanks for calling Central Bank.
Voted best bank and best mortgage in Utah Valley, Central Bank is here to help you with all your financial needs. From top SBA lending services for small businesses and quick turnaround times on construction loans. They're dedicated to helping you build your future. Whether you're cheering for the Cougars or building your dream home, trust the bank that's been here since the beginning. Central Bank, strong, local, secure, since 1891. Online at cbutah.com or any of 12 Utah County locations. Central Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Hi, this is Doug Wright with yet another great experiment you can try right there at home. I want you to take 4 bags of water softener salt. Lift 3 of the bags with one hand, good luck on that, and 1 bag with your other hand. Now, if you're like most people, you'll probably find that 3 bags of salt weigh about 3 times as much as 1 bag of salt. And that's an important thing to keep in mind when you're shopping for a water softener. You see, Connecticut of Utah, an authorized Connecticut dealer, their water softeners are so well designed, they use only 1 bag of salt for every 3 that other water softeners use. Now, I can't speak for you, but I'm not a fan of lower back pain, and as our little experiment has hopefully demonstrated, carrying that 1 bag of salt, it's a lot easier on your back than carrying 3. That's just one of the many reasons you should look into water softeners from Connecticut of Utah, an authorized Connecticut dealer. To learn more, call Connecticut of Utah, 801-576-8600, or go to softwaterutah.com.
Protect your little ones while transforming your home. The Blind Man's Go Cordless for Kids sale is on now. Buy 4, get 1 free on all child-safe window coverings, including the popular motorized options. Imagine beautiful cordless blinds and shades that elevate your decor without compromising safety. Their diverse collection of colors, fabrics, and cordless solutions ensures there's a perfect match for every style. Experience personalized service as the Blind Man's consultants guide you in selecting the ideal options for your home. Don't wait. This is your chance to create a safer, more stylish home with the Blind Man's Buy 4, Get 1 free savings event on all child-safe window coverings and motorization. Hurry, the sale ends October 31st. Visit theblindman.com today to set up a free in-home consultation. Theblindman.com.
From Ogden to St. George, Utah's premier window covering provider, The Blind Man.
Don't you deserve health care you can count on? Well, you can count on United Healthcare with Medicare plans that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. You can enjoy reliable coverage and low out-of-pocket costs with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. United Healthcare Medicare Advantage plans. Made for Utah, trusted everywhere. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today.
I'm Salt Lake County Mayor Jenny Wilson. You deserve a county government that protects your tax dollars. That's why every budget passed while I've been mayor has been balanced and earned bipartisan support. We've even protected the county's elite AAA bond rating, which saves you money. As your county mayor, I'm trying to make things a little easier for you and your family. We've got more difficult choices ahead of us, but I promise I'll never stop fighting for Salt Lake County families. Go to wilsonformayor.com to learn more. Paid for by Wilson for Mayor.
Want to keep your gas-powered engines running like new? Stable's proprietary formulas are proven by third-party testing to outperform the competition in keeping fuel fresh, preventing corrosion, and cleaning the entire fuel system. With Stable, you can have confidence you are doing the right thing for your engine's long-term health. Just pour into your gas can or fuel tank, then top off with fresh fuel. At every fill-up or when you store, start with Stable. Available where fuel additives are sold.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my superhydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Superhydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
How many things affect your life as much as slow traffic and bad weather? Listen tomorrow morning for Traffic and Weather Together every 10 minutes on the 9s on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back into Cougar Nation here on KSL News Radio, your legacy home of the Cougars. It's sponsored by Central Bank. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte with you on this Tuesday evening. Typically, we hold it down on Monday nights, but we had the congressional debates last night, freed it up for the political debates. We got
it's that time of year.
Democracy,
there's gotta be room
freedom,
for it. Yep.
America. This is how we do. But usually we hold it down on Monday nights, so 6 to 7. If you're new to this show, hey, appreciate you listening, and check out our podcast feed, Cougar Nation, wherever you get your podcast. We're expecting a call at practice here shortly from BYU safety Crew Wakley, who's having a brilliant season. But, Matt, we got to get to some of these texts.
Oh, yeah.
The question is inspiring a lot of reaction from Cougar fans today.
Who is the MVP through the first half of the season? We're getting some Jake Retzloffs. There's a Kalani. A lot of props to the defense. The entire defense. Texter 0195. Give defense and special teams the trophy.
Oh.
Wouldn't be 6-0 without him. 6682. Coach Hill is the MVP. We're not 6-0 without Coach Hill. 8974. The whole defense. 2318. Tyler Batty, which is kind of an interesting take because you look at his stats. The sacks aren't quite there, but I think for a well-seasoned football fan, you could see the difference that Tyler Batty's making. He's playing first-team defense-level football, even though the sack numbers aren't where you want them to be, but the QB hit numbers are there, the havoc pressure is there, the turnovers are there. So that's an interesting take as well.
BYU's defense, Batty included on last Saturday against Arizona, the hits they were leveling to Noah Fafita. It was just a sight to behold. And Fafita, credit to him, that guy can scramble and get out of the pocket. He's one of the best to do it in the league.
He was by far the best quarterback BYU's played this year, and it wasn't even close.
Really? You think so? Better than Avery Johnson?
Yes. Decisively better than Avery Johnson. Avery Johnson made some really boneheaded decisions in that game. And Fafita made a couple bad decisions as well, but to me that was more so just the relentless pressure was forcing him to make those decisions. Avery Johnson, he did not look like the Big 12's best quarterback against BYU.
Maybe I'm still just buying into the potential, but Fafita, he is legit. I mean, it's crazy to think Arizona's 3-3, but that's the Big 12. It's a balanced league where every week it's about a 3-point spread, and it's toss-up football, and you better bring your A game or else you're going to take an L. Texter 3324, offensive MVP has to be the entire O-line and the improvements they have made under TJ Woods. The offense always starts up front. Run and pass blocking have been much better. Defensive MVP has to be Crew Wakley. We're waiting on him. Jack Kelly and John Nilsson. The D has been solid, making big plays when needed. Special teams, trick plays. Parker Kingston has kick return and his throwing. Good stuff there.
Another texter, 3296. My MVP so far is Darius Lassiter. Although he's had some drops, it seems to me that he's always there to provide the spark when you need it most. I'm not on board with that. Too many drops. I like Darius a lot, and I think he's a great number 2. To me, Chase Roberts is clearly the number 1. He's the most sure-handed wide receiver in the room. I love Darius where he's at. The drops, man. There's just too many drops. If you want to be an NFL wide receiver, you got to be making these catches. Like, has Chase dropped the ball all year? Like, I can't even think of a Chase Roberts drop.
Maybe one. I feel like there was maybe one, but yeah, they're few and far between.
So, look, that's not to say I don't like Darius Lassiter. Darius is playing good football.
That Baylor game was off the charts.
He was
good.
great.
8 catches,
and
120.
That move he made to kind of seal that Arizona game where he caught that little corner route and then shook the defender and got another 20 yards. Like, Darius is a good player. He's just, to me, he's not an MVP.
I like this text from 3935, and I think all of Cougar Nation can agree. The MVP through midway point of the season for this texter, me, for sticking with them through years of woe. You know what, texter 3935, well said. You know, because it is sweeter as a fan when you've sat through 5-7, when you sat through years ago 4-9, when you sat through independence, when you were told, oh, you're only independent because no one likes you. And you sat through those Novembers when you're playing Savannah State and Wagner and New Mexico State. This is pretty sweet. And I think that's what's sweeter about this start this year. Low expectations, one, but nothing's holding BYU back. We're not talking about, well, BYU's got to have this SMU team do this, and this has got to happen. And no, just do your thing and take care of business, and the rest will play itself out. And then you're going to go play for a playoff, or you're going to go play for a Big 12 title. That's pretty nice, because I think sometimes in previous years, back in like 2008, one of the last times BYU was 6-0, it was always, are they going to be the BCS bust or the quest for perfection? Are they going to be able to handle it? This is just a nice ride right now. And what's fun, too, is the nation's still not expecting much from BYU. Big Noon Kickoff rolls into town last Saturday. Joel Klatt and those guys in front of BYU fans and students are straight up saying the best team in the Big 12 is K-State. And I think one of them said Colorado. Like, come on, guys. Like, if you're not going to say BYU, at least Iowa State. But, geez, like, BYU's right there in front of you. They're playing some great football right now.
Can I also add, though, it has been nice to see an SMU and a Kansas State go on to, like, be good football teams.
Oh, absolutely.
Because in previous years, it's like,
absolutely.
Hey, that SMU win. Afterwards, I'm like, SMU's not any good. That's just going to be another win where you look at it and you're like, they're not very good. But, hey, SMU could, for real, be playing in the ACC championship game.
Oh, yeah.
And that's awesome.
When you talk about maybe at large for BYU in the playoff, that's the world that BYU suddenly entered. That's a nice data point for BYU and for the Big 12, because this league needs to get two teams. In a perfect world, BYU goes 12-0, Iowa State goes 12-0, and both teams are going to the playoff.
You're right.
Because you're not taking away a 12-1 Power 4 team from the at-large pool. No way. You cannot do that. I know there's no precedent in this 12-team playoff, but you go 12-1, man. Everything's in front of you. But BYU is a really good football team, and I love that text, because BYU fans, look, there's been a lot of highs with Cougar football over the years. It's not just down and out, but there was a lot of adversity through independence and just being felt like you were left out. But this fan base got bigger, it got stronger, it got more passionate, and you're being rewarded. And BYU has embraced the Big 12. The Big 12's embraced BYU. It's one of the best game day atmospheres in this league. And it's just fun to see BYU taking off and Kalani's leading the way.
Well said. And, to kind of piggyback off that text for the fan, giving him a pat on the back for sticking with them through the years, I think this is why it's okay for BYU fans at this point of the season to let the fears go and enjoy the ride. Just start looking at flights to Arlington.
No, well, stop worrying about, is Jay Hill going to get poached? No, just I'm not saying he couldn't, but just enjoy the ride.
Just enjoy it. Don't worry about what's
These seasons don't happen every day.
No.
The last time before a pandemic this happened was 2008. 2020 it happened, yes, but still, you didn't get to connect with it.
It wasn't
the
same. It was, you couldn't connect, and then also we all knew the schedule was cake.
Yeah.
Like, tip of the cap to them for dominating that schedule, but there was no SMU on their schedule. There was no Kansas State on that schedule.
And that's what's impressive, too, about this 6-0 start. What Jake's doing and this whole BYU team, like the great BYU quarterbacks, Zach Wilson, Max Hull, Mark Wilson, Robbie Bosco, Brandon Doman, those are the only guys that have gotten off to 6-0 starts.
Yeah.
And no one's had as tough of a slate as Jake Retzloff has in this 6-game stretch, and he's faced a lot of criticisms in the social media, radio, sports media, 24/7 cycle, unlike those guys. So pretty impressive stuff for BYU to just focus on the task at hand, keep getting better each week. Let's see them keep getting better this week and then the weeks to come.
Taking a quick break. Cougar Nation, sponsored by Central Bank. Crew Wakley will be joining us momentarily.
6:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. KSL's top local story this hour. A new audit of the signature gathering for the campaigns of Governor Spencer Cox, Attorney General candidate Derek Brown, and Senate candidate John Curtis found some errors. KSL at Night host Leah Murray says it makes sense that the audit found errors because they were collecting so many signatures.
What they have to do is comb through 28,000 signatures and make sure that Jeff Kaplan here is the same Jeff Kaplan that's signing for his credit card over here. So what they are doing is validating the signatures. So what they found was some of the signatures were incorrectly validated and some of the signatures were incorrectly invalidated.
These errors will not change the outcome. All remains the same on the ballot. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Top U.S. officials are pressuring Israel to improve conditions in Gaza. ABC's Tom Sufi-Burridge is in Tel Aviv.
Effectively, the U.S. is saying to Israel, if you don't let more aid get into Gaza right now, and particularly to the north of Gaza, then weapon supplies from the U.S. to Israel could be compromised in the future.
Burridge doesn't believe U.S. weapons supplies will be cut off anytime soon. Coming up, it's going to get colder and wetter. You'll find out when in just a moment. KSL weather on the way. KSL News Time, 6:31.
I am Rochelle Morris, and I'm running for Salt Lake County Council at large. As I've spent time getting to know you, from Magna to Mill Creek and from Salt Lake City to Sandy, I've become even more convinced that there is so much that you and I have in common. In Salt Lake County, we want accountability for our tax dollars. We want collaborative problem solving to tackle housing affordability, homelessness, and transportation needs. We want safe parks and neighborhoods for our kids and our families. When you elect me in November, I will work earnestly to best serve and represent you. I'll deliver real results on the issues that matter most. Whether you live in the north end or the south end of the county, the east side or the west side, I will be your advocate. I love our county, and I'll get right to work making Salt Lake County work better for all of us. I'm Rochelle Morris, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Rochelle Morris for Salt Lake County Council.
I'm Utah Tax Attorney Jordan Wilcox. Listen to what actual clients have had to say about working with us.
Hi, I'm Gary. I'm a building contractor. About a year prior to the market crashing, we had a big job that was unable to pay a bill of about 6 figures. We were still left with a very difficult situation with the IRS. Eventually, at the end of the day, I realized that the penalties and interest were growing faster than my ability to save to deal with it. I had talked to people, and I felt that Jordan Wilcox represented best what I thought could help me, primarily because they were local, and I needed a bigger solution than I was coming up with. It takes too long to figure it out on your own.
Hi, I'm Jordan Wilcox. You need a tax attorney that's not afraid to fight for you. Visit taxhelput.com to schedule your free consultation.
I would recommend Jordan Wilcox. It feels very good to not have the IRS on your back.
That's taxhelput.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Listen to Mark Jackson.
ASL Traffic Trooper Bob calling in a number 2 lane block northbound I-15 south end of the valley, about 147 south in Draper. So look for some fresh delays there. Biggest delays have been all afternoon. Roll it in Utah County on northbound I-15 Provo up to Linden. Mountain View's got delays as well. Southbound SR201 to 3500 south in the West Valley area. Transform your outdated kitchen with half-price granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite, starting at $25 per square foot installed. Visit halfpricegranite.com. Affordable luxury. Mark Jackson of the KSL Traffic Center.
The KSL weather forecast, 57 overnight. For tomorrow, 81 degrees with sunshine. Savor it. Because early Thursday morning, the cold front moves in, the wind blows, the rain begins, and we're going to only hit a high of 62 on Thursday right now. 75 degrees. I'm Jeff Kaplan, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com.
Be ready for BYU Game Day. Download the KSL News Radio app to stream BYU games, plus breaking news during the week. That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Cougar Nation. It's sponsored by Central Bank. He's been waiting patiently, so let's get out to one of BYU's starting safeties, Crew Wakley. Crew, thanks for joining us, man. Thanks for waiting, and love having you on, dude.
Not a problem. Happy to be here.
That Arizona win, man, another thrilling defensive performance from you guys. So many turnovers forced. Why do you think this defense has excelled at forcing turnovers this season?
I think, I mean, first off, credit to Jay Hill and letting us know that was one of the areas we needed to improve over the offseason. So it was just a focus all offseason of being a chaotic defense and forcing more turnovers. And so he really put that into our minds early, really in December, as soon as the season was over. So all offseason, that was in our minds. That's what we were working for.
Crew Wakley is our guest here on Cougar Nation Live on KSL News Radio. He had 6 tackles in last Saturday's win over Arizona. Following up on the takeaways piece, how awesome was it to see Tanner Wall come up with that big play in the second quarter? And what can you say about the growth of Tanner Wall in the back end alongside you in that safety spot?
That was a great play. I mean, I turned around. It's one of those things where I got eyes on the quarterback, and then I see that thing going towards the end zone. I'm like, oh, no, because that was a play where he's not necessarily supposed to be there, but he just made a play on the ball and took off. He actually, if you watch the play, he started on the whole opposite hash.
Yeah.
And ran over there. So that was an incredible play. I think it's one of the best plays we've seen from a safety this year, from the whole defense this year. That was sweet. So, but as far as growth for him, like, it's been cool because me and him being in similar situations, being walk-ons who started a couple games last year. We were both coming into the fall camp with a similar situation, and so we were kind of able to relate to each other, and I think that kind of helped us grow closer in that aspect. But it's been fun watching him develop and get better and better every week. And I mean, that's a play that just shows how much he's been working and how, not that he wouldn't have made that play last year, but that just shows improvement right there. I mean, you can talk about, he could have made the play, but actually making the play is a whole different thing. So it's been cool to see him grow and see him develop alongside and developing alongside with him. It's been cool because it's kind of helped us be on the same page when we're out there, because we came from we kind of came up together, if that makes any sense. So it's been a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed it.
A lot of these turnovers you guys have forced have been on the side of the field, right in front of the rock. How cool has it been to force these turnovers and then to be able to go celebrate with Cougar Nation right in that end zone?
You can't beat it. I mean, that place, there was times last game where we were trying to communicate to the corners and to the backers, and we couldn't even talk to them. So we had to, we're like, we got to get some like visual signs for all our calls, because if you're in that south end zone, you can't talk, you can't hear each other. I couldn't even hear myself. So getting any type of big play down there it's freaking sweet. So yeah, the Rock is a huge home field advantage, and we love it.
What's been the biggest change this week in preparation for a Friday night game compared to a Saturday afternoon game? What's the biggest change?
Not a lot, honestly. I would say just focusing a little more on recovery. The schedule stays the same. You bump it up a little bit, right? But and the mindset and the urgency is all the same. It's just, let's get our bodies right and be smart about how we prepare and make sure that we're watching even more film, because you don't have the extra day to maybe run through a couple more things live in practice. So you got to make sure your film's dialed in and your recovery is dialed in. So I would say those are the two biggest things. But everything else, it's mindset and have that dominant mindset. That's all the same. So.
Crew Wakley is our guest here on KSL News Radio Live right after BOU football practice. Crew, I'm curious from a player's perspective. You guys are nationally ranked number 13 in the country. There's more attention. Big Noon was there. Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt, big voices in college football were there. How are you able to focus on each game one at a time mentality while also kind of enjoying the ride? Because this doesn't happen every single season.
Yeah, I think I was actually talking to Parker Kingston about this earlier in the week. It's like, dude, this has just been such a fun season so far. And you don't have to really behave any differently other than focus on that week. Whoever we're playing that week that's the focus. And we don't look ahead to anything else. Like, I don't care who we're playing next week or where we're going. Oklahoma State is the focus right now. And, Big Noon to show up or no one to show up. It's the approach is the same, but you just have to be able to enjoy it, because you're going to play better as an individual and together as a team when you're having fun. And so you just got to be able to enjoy those things and just be present and be in the moment and not make the moment too big, but learn how to enjoy it, because the vibe is way different than last year when, you finished 5-7. The games aren't fun when you're losing. So it's one of those things where you don't want to take it for granted. And And I think one of the biggest ways you can take it for granted is not prepare for your opponent and get focused on those other things and let one slip. So we, as a team, I think we're very aware of that, and we respect every opponent, but at the same time, we enjoy the circumstances and the situation we're in right now, because it's something you always dream about. So enjoy it, but don't let it slip. It's kind of been the focus.
Oklahoma State rolls into town, Friday night game against you guys. Last year, when you bring up that 5-7 heartbreak, that was a tough one in Stillwater. That was one of the more emotional scenes I've seen from a BYU football team. How much did that game maybe fuel the focus for this 2024 group and the success you guys are having this year?
For sure, it stings. The losses like that don't. I mean, some of them never go away. I don't want to say the sting. You try to move on, but you don't forget about those, especially not within a calendar year. So it's definitely in the back of all our minds. I know me personally, I had some plays from that game that I want back, and if that's kind of wrenched in my focus even more, and my attention to smaller details this week throughout practice have been turned up. So I think throughout the whole team, we all are aware of that, and that taste is still in our mouth, and we're excited for this opponent, and we're excited to be playing them in Provo this time.
Last thing for you, Crew. We've been asking BYU fans today who's been the MVP or some of the MVPs of the team halfway through the season. From your vantage point, who have been some of the players that have played great football the first half of the season?
Shoot, that's hard to narrow it down.
You can say yourself too.
I mean, I appreciate that. I would hope some people vote for me. That'd be cool. But I really gotta say the D-line. The D-line and the linebackers, they make our job so easy. I was talking to John Nelson earlier this week. I'm like, hey, bro, I appreciate you guys. Like, we get to make interceptions look sweet and all that, but the reality of it is our job, just from a safety's perspective, I mean, last year I was having 10 tackles a game, and this year I'm having, 5 or 6, and it's a good game for me. And that's just because the front's making so many plays this year. It's able to keep our back end healthier and allow us to focus more on the pass and the back end, and that's why we have one of the best passer rating defenses in the country. And so I've really got to just say the D-line and the linebackers, they've been huge, and I think the offense has had some huge players too. Shout out Retzloff, he's played great, and he's really stepped up with a lot of adversity that he dealt with even early in the season. So, but the trenches, you always got to appreciate the trenches, especially when they take a load off you. So
we'll use that horn as a sign that we got to let you go. Enjoy the rest of your night, Crew. Appreciate you hopping on. He's Crew Wakley, BYU football safety. Best of luck this Friday night.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you. Been a pleasure.
That's Crew Wakley, again, here on Cougar Nation Live on KSL News Radio. Taking the break. Cougar Nation sponsored by Central Bank. 133 years of trusted banking service, modern technology, and fast lending decisions. More Cougar Nation next here on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. I've got to tell you about my experience at Hale Center Theater, one of the opening nights for The Magician's Elephant. Now, I knew it was going to be a U.S. premiere. I knew this was going to be something brand new, but I wasn't quite prepared for just how charming this play indeed is. It's all about a young orphan boy who promised his dying mother that he would keep an eye on and watch out for his little sister, but where is she? Only the Magician's Elephant knows. You're going to love The Magician's Elephant. And I'll tell you, I'm used to spectacular things unfolding on the stage, but there is the exit of a major character that is simply magical, almost molecular. One of the most amazing things I've ever seen on a Hale Center Theater stage, and boy, that is saying something. Don't forget, we also have the Addams Family, still to come, Beauty and the Beast. Get your tickets now for A Christmas Carol. Go to hct.org.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other, so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
Well, what other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
When it comes to your electrical system, do you know the warning signs to look for? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and it's okay if you don't know, but here are a few things that you might not even realize could be a sign of a bigger problem. Wall plates that are hot to the touch, discoloration around switches or outlets, if you hear crackling or popping or buzzing around switches or outlets, a breaker that trips a lot, switches that feel loose when you operate them, if your lights dim or flicker when a major appliance comes on, if your plugs fall out of the wall easily. You know, you're not supposed to have to bend the prongs out on a plug just to get it to stay in the wall. If you notice any of these things, you should consider having a licensed electrician check your system out. If you don't know anyone, Any Hour Services has put together a radio-only special for any homeowners listening. One of our licensed electricians will perform a comprehensive electrical inspection and give you a full written report for only $29. But you have to mention this ad when you call. To schedule your comprehensive electrical inspection by a licensed electrician for only $29, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7300. That's 801-443-7300. Any Hour Services.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Jazz games at Delta Center are unforgettable. From the atmosphere, the crowd noise, and of course, the electrifying on-court action. With ticket plans, you can go to as many as 11 games this season. Choose from packages like the All-Star Plan, Weekend Plan, or the Western Rivals Plan, and get what works for you. Come cheer on the Jazz and get your ticket package at utahjazz.com.
This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
When it comes to my lifestyle and diet, I don't always make the smartest choices.
Touchdown! Woo! Hey, how about another round and some more chips?
But when it comes to taking care of my liver, I do make one very smart choice. Active liver tablets from New Nordic. I used to have real issues with my liver, and at my last checkup, my doc was concerned about my numbers. But since adding a once-a-day active liver tablet, my gut's better, I feel great, and my doctor's happy. I ask a lot of my liver, so the least I can do to say thanks is a daily dose of Active Liver.
You ask a lot of your liver, so give it the support it needs with Active Liver. You can find Active Liver at Amazon.com, or for a volume discount, visit NewNordicUSA.com. Go to new, NORDICUSA.com, Amazon, or ask for Active Liver at your local CVS. New year, new you, New Nordic.
Cougar fans, use this radio station tomorrow morning for important news updates. Listen to Utah's most important radio station tomorrow morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Good stuff from Crew Wakley. He gave us his thoughts on the MVP for the BYU through the first half of the season. 801-575-8255. We're getting a lot of texts, which is great. We also like to hear you over the phone here on Cougar Nation. Who's been the MVP? Crew Wakley gave it to the defensive line. It's hard to argue that. For me, I'm giving it to Jake Retzlaff, Mitch. I think sometimes there is too much focus put on the quarterback, and Jake discussed that after the game. Like, hey, I'm not the only reason we're 6-0. Like, there's a lot of guys who are playing well. It's not just me. You can't be 6-0 with a bad quarterback, though. And coming into this, was he ranked the dead last in the Big 12 in quarterback rankings coming into the season, right? Dead last. If he had played dead last, you're not 6-0. Like, the quarterback is so critical to success that you have to have good quarterback play. You look at the teams in the top 10 of the country right now, Mitch. There's some great quarterback play in the country. Oregon, Dylan Gabriel, he's playing great football. Carson Beck, let's see what Georgia does at Texas. Texas #1, Quinn Ewers is playing great football. You can't be ranked if you have bad quarterback play. Just look at the team up the street. They have not had good quarterback play. They're no longer ranked. So to me, the MVP is Jake Retzlaff. That's not to discredit anyone else, because the defense is deserving. Jay Hill is deserving. There's offensive line is deserving. But Jake Retzlaff, he is playing great football. He is he's top 15 in terms of touchdown passes in the country. He's doing his job and more. So for me, I'm giving it to Jake because I think he's exceeded expectations, and he's a good college quarterback right now.
It's a good take, and you think of where Jake has improved. What he showed last Saturday against Arizona compared to where he was week 2 against SMU, he's improved significantly.
Yep.
It's night and day, where when he takes off, we're not thinking he's going to fumble the football. Early in the season, even against Southern Illinois, he was putting the ball on the turf, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, is he going to take care of the ball ever? He is now. I mean, he's still carrying the rock at a pretty good clip, and he's taking care of the football, not giving it away either. So that's a good pick. I am going to go with Jay Hill, though, because Jay Hill, the signs of his improvement showed last year. Think about the Arkansas game. There were flashes where they were competitive against Texas for about 3 quarters. You know, this defense was making improvements last year. Stats just didn't bear it out. They folded. Injuries piled up, and they were done. But the commitments that they made on the recruiting trail from Jay Hill, this defensive staff, they just hit it out of the park. And they've set a standard where your job's not safe. You've got to compete every single day. I love the competition, the competitive depth that was created from that mindset. And that's where you're seeing, whoever gets called into play, whether it's Evan Johnson, Jonathan Cabea, Ice Moa, guys are stepping up. John Talmoipeu, Viliami Puha, players that are guys that BYU fans that follow recruiting and follow the roster movement. They're like, okay, that guy could be something in maybe a couple years, but it's happening now. And then you pair that up with Batty, Nilsson, Mangelson, proven commodities, Jack Kelly. It's an impressive sight. Jacob Robinson. I mean, I could go on and on. This defense has been impressive, and I give a whole lot of credit to just Jay Hill. And then on top of that, he's doing this where just 5-6 weeks ago, he had a heart attack where you could have easily said, I totally understand he steps away for a season, because that's traumatizing. I mean, mentally, that's got to be so hard to just go back to what you were and the relentless nature that he pours into the profession. That's probably been very difficult for him mentally. And amidst all that, he's still getting the most out of his guys. The team loves him. Team loves Kalani. I mean, it's impressive to see. And I would give a bonus, like MVP to Kalani, because Kalani, every time that he makes changes to a staff, it always sees an uptick, an improvement. And the improvements that he made with the coaching staff by getting the O-line coach, the tight end position, still kind of incomplete, I feel like, with tight end. I still want to see a little bit more, but the blocking's been solid. I would like to see that position targeted more in the past game, but I'm not going to be, picky. I mean, I'd rather take wins for BYU. But Kalani just has a great feel of BYU. And there's something to that that's just kind of like a little bit of a throwback of college football of old, and he just embodies the passion of BYU football, and you want that guy to succeed at the highest levels. And I just think it's great that he's getting his flowers for a moment, because the guy went through it, man, and this offseason was tough. No one was on his side, but he just went to work, and this whole program went to work, and it's paying off right now, and they're 6-0.
Let's squeeze in another call, Mitch. Linda, who is your MVP through the first half of the season?
Jake Retzlaff.
Let's go. I'm with you, Linda.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just think he's so good. And also the defense, too, was really good. But I just have to give it to Jake. He's really done well this year.
Thanks, Linda. Appreciate it. I'm with you. I'm with her on that. But the defense, look, this is why this team is doing so well, Mitch. We've seen it in the text line. It's hard to pick one person because you can go in a lot of different directions. Defensively, Crew Wakley said the defensive line. You went Jay Hill. I went Jake Retzlaff. There's Kalani is deserving, as you mentioned. There's a lot of different directions you can go. The reason this team is 6-0 and the reason this team can dream of playing in a Big 12 championship is because, one side of the football is top 4 in the Big 12. That is a prerequisite. You have to be great at something to win a Power 4 conference championship. This team is great at defense. But along with that, the other groups, special teams and offense, they can't be bottom of the league. They had to be improved. The special teams is better. The offense is better. Now, the offense is not one of the elite offenses in the Big 12, but they're good enough to win you games. You couple that with a great defense, that's why you're 6-0. That's why you can dream about a Big 12 championship.
It's exciting, too, to have this happen now in the Big 12 where I was so big on the first impressions. Last year, it was they stumbled out of the gates. But you had another chance for a first impression in this new 16-team post-Texas, post-Oklahoma Big 12. And how great would it be to set the tone as the best team in the league if you're BYU? That's what's in front of you. And you got to think that that would be a nice chip to have in transfer portal recruiting. And I know BYU is probably a little bit spooked by the idea of going completely all into the portal, but maybe you can get into that higher tier of portal prospect that last year you were kind of, meddling through outside of Jack Kelly's of the world. You weren't going through much. Like you were not getting the highly coveted portal prospects. If you can become a Big 12 champion or a team that's at the Big 12 championship game, I just think that would be huge to set the tone that BYU football is back. It's ready to compete in this new look Big 12 and become the face of the league. Why can't it be BYU? I thought Steve Young said that perfectly. Why not BYU? Like, why not? Nothing's holding them back. The only thing that's holding them back is, media rights money? Like, I'm not going to get into the world of, well, they have more media rights money, so that must mean they're a better football team. No. The people that subscribe to that are just, I'll just call it what it is, they're losers. Oh, you make $70 million in media rights, so that's a better football team. Far too often, college football media gets sucked into that hole and doesn't actually watch the games. There's good football in the Big 12. Iowa State and BYU are good football teams. And Texas Tech's been pretty solid. This whole league, like Arizona on Saturday, it was a good football team, and BYU pummeled them. Like, we saw them go up to Salt Lake and just physically dominated Utah. BYU then crushed them. So I just think that BYU's a really good football team. They're being slept on still, and that bodes well again because you can still play that underdog. No one believes in you. That's a nice spot for BYU to be in.
It's a great spot for BYU to be in. I don't know if BYU necessarily needs to tap into the higher portal area. I like the approach that we had last year. I think there are...
Well, I'm just saying, fill the gaps with top-end portal prospects where they're going to listen to you.
Fair.
Where you've now, you got a product that says, oh, that's a good brand of football. Whereas last year was I'm not playing in that.
I do think, though, Kalani and co. realized you can't overhaul your roster in the portal, though. I think one of the reasons I think Kalani should be in the discussion for that MVP is he doubled down on his culture and development. And there is still something to be said about having continuity, experience, and chemistry on the football field. I think that cannot be understated about the success of this year's team, that there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears poured into these guys. The development has paid off. This is a coaching staff that can develop. That's important. Now, to your point, if you can go add 2, 3, 4 high-end, whether it's a quarterback in a season in which you need one, or it's a running back or a receiver, great. But where I hope this really pays dividends is at the high school level. Can you start to gather more top blue-chip LDS prospects? They're always there, Mitch, but for the past decade or so, they haven't been choosing BYU. If you can tap into that, build a pipeline, and keep the continuity going, that bodes well for the future of BYU.
Good things are happening right now for Cougar football. Cougs undefeated, 6-0, ranked 13th in the AP Top 25. They will be back in action.
Hey, we'll
Friday
be back
night.
in action Friday night, too.
Yes, we will. BYU kicks it off at 8:15. We will get extended pregame started at 5:30.
5:30. Dial in to KSL News Radio. We'll get you ready for a big revenge game for the Cougs between Oklahoma State and BYU. As always, Cougar Nation, thanks for listening. So for Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte, have a great night.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.